If you're barely making it, why would you want to bring a kid into this world that's barely making it?
So you think poor people shouldn't have kids?
Don't even. No. No. I did not say that. I'm just saying.
How about these people in other countries that all of them are struggling? They just shouldn't have kids? You sound like Bill Gates.
I didn't say that. This is an attack. I'm sorry. I did not say that, okay? I just said that if you're in a position where you know you cannot care for a child, or you can only care for one child and you have 3 or 4 or 5, wouldn't you say that's selfish?
No. Welcome back to another episode of the Borough Sound. I'm your host with the most, DJs are, recording here live at the 25th Hour Studios. Joined by a friend who has multiple names, but I call her Kitana. She goes by Crystal, Kitana Milan. You might have seen her on Six Buzz. She has some, in my opinion, interesting takes on things ranging from love to immigration, technology to the CRA. So, Crystal, Kitana, welcome.
Thank you.
I was kind of gassed that, I offered to buy Crystal a coffee on my way here, and I got her a large ice cap, but you said you were expecting a small?
I was grateful. Like, the fact that you even offered, I was like, thanks, it's the thought that counts. So.
But you seemed a little spiced that I got you a large. Like, did it make me look like a big baller kind of thing?
Yes, I was, it was unexpected, but it was a nice surprise.
Okay, well, I first came across your work when Six Buzz reposted you. I think it was about friendship in Toronto or something along those lines. What was that video about?
I think it was the first video. Well, the video was about talking about, I think, the first date.
Okay.
Where if a guy should take a woman on an expensive first date.
Okay.
Or if it's okay to go to something a little bit cheaper, Moxie's, coffee dates, things like that.
And where do you stand on that now? Are you like a pretty low maintenance, like I could take you to McDonald's kind of thing? Like if I were to take you on a date?
I mean, depending on how much I like the guy, I guess you can say. But I would say for a first date, for me personally, it's getting to know the person. So if it's an environment where we can talk and like enjoy each other's company, I'm okay with it. Now, if you're the type of guy who has the means to spoil on the first date, I'm not against that. But I'm not going to hold it against a guy if he's putting in the effort, but just doesn't have necessarily a lot of funds to impress.
So do you feel like, because I feel like a lot of your takes are often like pro men, like versus like, a lot of us were used to seeing like women kind of like trashing men or shaming men or like, oh, guys aren't doing this, they're not doing that. But a lot of the times you're almost empathizing with men. And I feel like a lot of women kind of see that as like, she's a pick me. What is that like? What is that mean?
The term pick me, first and foremost, I feel someone who's referred to as a pick me is someone who is speaking in logic. Because for me, I find that I try to look at it if I was a guy. Like if I was a guy, what would my expectations be? So I want to say that I'm equal. I'm a woman. I do like to be spoiled. I do like to be treated nice. But at the same time, I respect effort. If a guy's putting in effort, then it's not going to go unnoticed. So
have you ever been in a relationship where you're almost financially providing for the dude? Because I feel like you're such a nice, like, nurturing woman that you get yourself into those situations, or maybe you attract men who kind of see that.
That take advantage of me? No. I know you're going with that one. No. When I was younger, yes, I didn't mind paying for dates when I was younger.
Okay.
But now that I gotten older, I have experience and I know that what my value is and what I bring to the table. So, I mean, like I said, it's if you find someone that you're compatible with and someone that really cares about you and loves you, to me, it's not such a big deal. Not that I want to cover 100% of the relationship, but, fairness. I look for fairness. Fairness.
Okay. So speaking about fairness, this is actually one of the questions I have, and I think we discussed this before, but do most girls even want this kind of like 50-50 relationship that women like you who are like modern and hardworking kind of advocate for? But I think even the girls who claim they want that, when they're in those 50-50 relationships, feel this dissatisfaction because there's like this imbalance of, like, I guess, gender energy where it's like, you know, the masculine impulse is to provide, the female impulse is to like submit or nurture or whatever. So do girls even want 50-50 relationships?
I can't speak in general because I'm not every woman, but I know that it's common for men to provide, to be providers, to financially support not only the woman, but the family unit. For me, I don't mind it to a certain degree, especially if I'm working and like, I mean, to each their own. Like me personally, I don't mind it, but I'm not going to say that every man should have that mindset of 50-50. Depending on what woman you go for. Some women are very high maintenance. So the expectation is that you pay for everything. If you're into that type of woman, then you have to be expected to, you know, provide.
Would you prefer being provided for or prefer being in this like modern fairness?
Of course I would prefer being provided for, but I'm realistic. How many men, millionaire men are walking out there, you know, that you're going to meet every day, right? So if it presented itself, then I would, you know, take advantage. But and at the end of the day, like, again, it just, to me, it's effort. If he's a hardworking man, if he's able to take me out once a week or, you know, once a month, you know, spoil me here and there, then that's okay for me, right? So that's how I see it.
But I feel like a lot of women who end up in these 50-50 relationships or marriages, sometimes there's like a resentment that builds up because even though they understood from the get-go that, oh, you know, this guy's not a millionaire, he's not going to fully provide for me, but we're going to do this, that, they still kind of like wish that they had found that millionaire guy or wish that they had locked down that, especially because a lot of women that are younger almost have an advantage in the mating pool, especially for like high value men. Like they tend to seek out women who are like 25 or under, right? So do you feel like there's an advantage that should be taken advantage of for women who are younger? Like what kind of advice would you give to like these younger women, like under 25, if they want to secure themselves a mate that's able to like provide for them?
Well, first, like the way I was raised is just make sure that you're able to provide for yourself just in case you're not able to find that, you know, millionaire husband. But I mean, in your younger years, like you said, that's the prime of your life. You know, go after what you want at the end of the day. If you are a woman that wants that man that can provide for you, then go after that. But don't be disappointed, right? Because you're competing against how many women? You know, so you just have to have a plan B just in case plan A doesn't work in terms of getting like the multi-million-dollar guy.
But if I had a daughter and she was in her early 20s, I would try to tell her, because you're saying like do what you want. But like a lot of time women do what they want at those ages and it ends up kind of biting them in the ass later in terms of finding a good mate, or like maybe they went through all these experiences and now like they weren't able to find like a good partner. Whereas if you're kind of strategic about it and you understand the value of a younger woman in the mating like pool, I feel like you got to be more strategic, especially if you're a younger girl. Like you don't want to like not take advantage of your youth. And it is kind of sad to say because like, I don't want to say like younger women are more valuable than like older women, but like that's how a lot of men see it, especially men who want to find and provide for a woman. Yeah.
Well, I agree with that. Like older women are seen as having more baggage. So that's why obviously men go after the younger women. With older women, sometimes they tend to have kids, maybe be divorced, been through multiple relationships that were unsuccessful. So there is that, you know, benefit of dating a younger woman. And then the fact that people feel that younger women can be more manipulated easier or taken advantage of. So, I mean, it's a very interesting conversation to have. Like there's different points of view. So
I know that I'm not going to get you to say your age or ask you your age on this, but we have discussed whether you want kids or not. You know, because her and I were trying to start a family, but she's not really like thinking about it.
Oh my God.
Why do you think I got you that large ice cap?
I thought you were being a nice. I thought you were being a nice Toronto man, because all the Toronto men are nice.
A Toronto man would have got you a medium iced coffee. Relax.
You said that, not me. So
if that, bro, I should have just got you 3 Timbits. No, I'm joking. Okay, but we were talking about whether you know, whether you want to have kids. And you said, you know, you actually said some wild stuff. I'm not going to say what you actually said, but you said, you know, if you knew for sure you were in like a proper situation with the right exact dude, you would. But if you don't care kind of thing.
Right. Yes.
And I felt like that was a biological disservice because obviously there are a small segment of both male and female populations that just cannot reproduce, which they're anomalies. Like the majority of humans can reproduce. So is not wanting to have a kid selfish from a biological animal perspective?
I don't think it's selfish because it's a decision that people make, a conscious decision that people make to have kids. I feel that it's a decision that needs to be taken more seriously because there are people out there that have kids that should not have kids because they're not able to provide. For me to have a kid, I would want to be married first because I want to have that stable relationship before even thinking about having kids. And it would be more so my husband wanting to have kids than me because I grew up in a large family. I've always been around kids. I don't have the desire to be around babies. I've, been there, done that.
You don't like babies?
I didn't say that's okay. That's the problem. You're twisting words around. I didn't say I don't like babies. I said I've been around babies, so I've had that experience being around small children, and it's ran its course. But that what we were discussing. The other thing we're discussing is I said jokingly that if I knew my kid was going to be successful, then I wouldn't have a problem having a child. Let's leave it at that.
That's kind of wild though, because what if you had a kid and they weren't like this mega billionaire or millionaire or even successful?
I have a question for you. Okay, let me have a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's just say that you knew 100% your child was going to be born with some sort of medical
disability
defect.
Or something. Yeah,
would you still
tough.
choose to have that child? Would that change your decision? And if you knew that they would be suffering their entire life?
That's a very tough question because your alternative is what? Aborting the child? Giving it up for adoption?
Or not having a child.
But how would I know? Like I do a test before and they say like, oh, based on your sperm and her egg, like the child would be XYZ?
Yeah, let's just say in that scenario. Even before she gets pregnant, they say 100% that your child's going to have this birth defect and they're not going to recover from it and they're going to suffer their entire life. Do you still want to go ahead with it?
I believe that like in order for us to survive as a species, we have to reproduce. And this modern like narrative that like, oh, like having kids, blah, 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 it's a choice. Like it's a necessity if you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like you have that responsibility, not to you, but to the human species. And I feel like when women say, oh, I don't want to have kids or, I have to be with someone who knows that I don't want kids, it's pretty selfish.
Mm-hmm. That's one way to look at it. But again, it's a decision, right? Like a woman has the right to do what she wants with her body. And if she chooses not to have a kid for her own personal reasons, whether it be selfish or not, it's better for her to go ahead and not have the kid than have the kid because being pressured to and then being in a situation where she can't handle it. You hear stories of women having not post-traumatic stress.
Postpartum depression.
There we go. You hear stories of women having that and maybe she was pressured into having the child, and then that led to that. So
I do think there has to be consent. Like the woman has to want the child, the man has to want the child, but I don't think we should trivialize childbirth. Like it is every person, every child born is special, whether or not they're going to be a billionaire, whether they have disabilities, like life is still life. And I don't think that because most women that don't want kids will say, I don't want to do that to my body. You don't understand. You don't have to. This girl's like, you don't have to carry the baby. You're speaking from a man's perspective.
True. Facts.
Okay, but I'm not the one with the uterus.
And that's my fault. Like I was born with
one. That's not my fault. No, that's what I'm saying. Like
when you say it like that, like it's my fault. Like I chose that.
No, but that tells you every body part has a function.
Oh God, here we go. And
every body part has a function.
Every body part has multiple purposes for each body part.
So what is the function of a uterus?
And I was gonna check Google, but then you asked me another question.
But it's pretty self-evident that the uterus is mostly. I might even be wrong when I say this. So
a question for you. Okay.
No. Listen.
No, let me before I forget.
Go ahead. Ladies first.
So you're saying, okay, a woman's purpose is to Give birth, right?
Not like the only purpose in their lives, but yeah.
What are the top five?
The female anatomy.
The top three.
The female anatomy is set up in a way to, facilitate childbirth.
Okay, so are you saying that women should pop out babies like rabbits?
Not like rabbits, but I think if you're in a good situation, you should aspire to have kids, just like men should aspire to have kids in a family.
And so if someone is an unfit parent, like she goes out partying, drinking, smoke, all that stuff, sleep with multiple men, she should still, her purpose is to have kids.
Now that's a good argument because like you said, there are degenerates that have kids, but sometimes those tough situations can create a very tough child that can achieve a lot of good things. And everything is, I believe in destiny. So I feel like everything's meant to happen. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's because I have a religious or spiritual kind of like understanding of the world. That's my lens. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone might have that lens, but I think, like whether or not you're like a billionaire having a kid or someone who's like on food stamps, you'll be able to figure it out.
I don't agree with that.
Humans have survived through much tougher times than we have and that we are going through right now.
If you're struggling, why would you want your kid to struggle? If you're barely making it, why would you want to bring a kid into this world that's barely making it?
So you think poor people shouldn't have kids?
Don't even. No. No. I did not say that. I'm just saying.
How about these people in other countries that all of them are struggling? They just shouldn't have kids? You sound like Bill Gates.
I didn't say that. This is an attack. I'm sorry. I did not say that, okay? I just said that you have to think about your child and not be selfish. Like if you're in a position where you know you cannot care for a child, or you can only care for one child and you have 3 or 4 or 5, wouldn't you say that's selfish?
No.
What about for a check?
Oh, well, now I know you're talking about how in Canada, I think in other countries they do this too.
I think in other countries they
get paid to have kids, right, and you get a check per year per each kid.
Right.
And I think the reason they're doing that is because we need to have kids. Why else would the government pay for us to have kids? So that's another incentive to have kids. You know what I'm saying? Passive income. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do Bitcoin. You can just have a kid.
Right.
Your Bitcoin returns are not going to be as much as having a kid. And once you have a couple, you just reuse the clothes.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, or sell them, right?
Yeah. So how many kids would you have?
0. Like I said, unless I get married or unless I know my child's going to be successful, I don't want to have kids.
How are you going to know your child's going to be successful?
I'm not going to know. That's why I'm not going to have kids. You can't predetermine that, right?
Okay, so if you can never know if your child's going to be successful unless you actually have a kid, that's not a good argument. So you want to be married first. That's really the main thing.
Yeah, that's definitely the main thing, yeah.
What do you look for in a husband?
Stability.
Financial or emotional, mental?
Well, emotional, mental as well. Come from like a stable family, you know. Someone who's honest, someone who's serious about a relationship. That pretty much sums it up. Like
gets you large ice caps kind of thing.
Gets me large ice caps, yeah.
She don't want the medium, boys.
Okay, so like I was saying, that's pretty much it, I would say. That's pretty much it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. And what do you look for in a wife?
In a wife, someone who's nice, someone who's not gonna...
Someone who's a baddie?
No, I'm over that phase of my life. I think, and I'm not sure if every guy goes through this, but when I was younger, I was enamored by the baddies, specifically the light-skinned baddie prototype. I don't know what it was in Toronto. It was like part of like the Toronto dream. The Toronto man dream is to have a light-skinned baddie and live in a condo downtown. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like I did that. And nothing against like women who are baddies. You know what I'm saying? I understand it's hard to generalize that too.
Do you think the term baddie is a term that single women should use or women who are in relationships should use it?
I think you can be a baddie in a relationship, but I just think there comes with being a baddie, I feel like there are lifestyle expectations.
What's the definition of a baddie in your book?
Bad gal. No, I'm joking. I don't know. I don't know how else.
How could you like something and not know the definition? You just said that you would go after baddies. before when you were younger.
Okay, this is how I define a baddie then. A baddie is a woman who is obviously very well kept, a little more glamorous than the average woman, perhaps a little more materialistic or luxury oriented. I think they invest more in their appearance because they understand that there's a certain power that comes with being a baddie. Because when you have that quote unquote baddie aura, it draws a lot of attention.
Right.
So, you know, maybe like, you know, you're all glammed out, fake boobs, fake ass, like clawy nails, long weave, makeup. Like, I'm not saying anything wrong with makeup because like you don't have to wear makeup, like, and not everyone who wears makeup is a baddie, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying like.
What do you mean by that?
Like just because you wear makeup doesn't mean you're a baddie. You could just be like a regular girl.
If a woman thinks she's a baddie, does that mean that she's a baddie? Or does someone have to validate that she's a baddie?
If I think I'm an elephant, am I an elephant?
Is that...
I feel like an elephant.
So a woman can't be a self-proclaimed baddie, you're saying?
You can be a self-proclaimed anything, but I think generally a baddie is a term that's kind of like bestowed upon you. Like, it has to be determined that you are perceived as a baddie. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these girls out here calling themselves baddies, but they're not baddies. And I don't know if I can put the term baddie into a definition because a lot of baddies, quote unquote, or like women who claim to be baddies will associate it with being an independent woman. Right. Being a boss, B word. These are often terms I feel are corroborated with the term baddie. So it's realistically, is it even a real phenomena? It could just be purely social. But generally, I feel like men, when we see like a baddie, we know to call her a baddie. And a baddie doesn't necessarily reflect personality traits. I think it's mostly a physical thing. But it's also, like a bad bitch. Maybe it is like an attitude. You know what I'm saying? What do you think a baddie is? I think it's a confidence thing. I think it's, like you said, a woman that puts herself together, makeup, hair, nails, lashes, eyebrows. But I think more so it's confidence. So I think anyone can label themselves as a baddie if they feel that they're a baddie. But then are they a baddie? In their book, yes. Okay, so I have a question. Let's say the male equivalent of a baddie is a boss, let's say. Can any man just claim to be a boss and he's a boss? Yes, he can claim, but then he's not actually a boss. It's based on what he thinks. If he feels that he is, then. The man who works at McDonald's, he goes around saying he's a boss. What's wrong with working at McDonald's? Let's say he's working a minimum wage job at McDonald's. And I don't shame fast food workers. I've worked at Tim Hortons, Starbucks. Shout out all those workers. Kitana. Not saying she works at McDonald's. I'm saying she's trying to like trap me. I wouldn't mind working at McDonald's. You get free food. Yeah, well, apply. Continue. If a man is not financially stable, but he calls himself a boss, maybe he feels like he's a boss, but if he tells a woman like, or he portrays himself as a boss and the woman kind of like follows up with him, says, you're not a boss. You don't have this. You don't have that. You don't have this. You work at McDonald's. Is he a boss? I feel like boss is a status, though. Baddie is just like a persona, like a, you know. What do you guys call like a male baddie? That's a good question. I don't think there's a word that exists for a male baddie. Gay? No, I'm joking. Sassy? I heard that. No, but that's more like a literal definition about it. I'm saying the equivalent of a baddie, like when, you know, like, oh, like a baddie walks by a group of guys, like, yo, she's bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you guys say when you see like that's a handsome man who's well put together and appears to have his life in order? You guys call him daddy still. I'm not going to... I think the male equivalent of baddie is daddy. I think so. I think you're onto something. What if a man says, yo, I'm daddy, I'm zaddy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, broski, you have $32 to your name. You're working at McDonald's paycheck to paycheck. Is that still daddy, even though he claims to be daddy? Oh my God, you're putting me in such a bad position. Is he spending all the money on you? Like this whole paycheck on you? Okay, even if he did, so he's daddy. What if he puts all his paychecks together and it's like just the McDonald's meal?
Down, like you're just digging a bigger hole.
But I think we're onto something with like the male.
Oh my god!
No, but the male equivalent of baddie is daddy. I think we just like
I think
right?
so. I think so. I agree.
Is there a difference between daddy and zaddy, or is that like synonyms?
Daddy is sugar daddy money. Zaddy is good looking man. Like that's what I would think is.
Okay. So would you
older good looking man? I would say
zaddy.
Yeah, older good looking man.
What if it's like someone
Method Man?
So you would say Method Man is zaddy or daddy?
No, zaddy. Daddy is like Elon Musk, like old rich guy. Like I don't know, like old Bill Gates, like old rich.
Bill Gates is daddy?
I don't know. I don't know.
This girl loves Microsoft.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to give you like a visual.
You look like more of a PC Android type of gal.
iPhone.
But PC, like computer, or you have a Mac?
Mac.
So why talking about Bill Gates?
Who owns Apple then? I don't know.
I don't know.
See?
Steve Jobs used to, but the man passed away, but he used to be daddy is what you're saying.
Yeah, like old money. Yeah, there we go. Old money.
Old money is daddy.
I can't believe we're having this conversation.
New money is zaddy.
Oh my God. Good looking new money is zaddy.
So what about if you're just not good looking, but you have money?
That's daddy. That's sugar daddy.
Even if you're not older.
Yeah, I would still categorize it, put it in the same category.
Should guys date if they're not in a position financially to provide or even some type of stable situation? Do you feel like it's almost selfish of us to enter a relationship without having our own matters in order? I
would say that it's fine to date, but you have to stay in your lane. Like if you're interested in women that you can tell are high class women and you don't bring that money to the table, then it doesn't make sense to go after them. You have to stay with the group of people that you can entertain. Okay. I don't think you shouldn't date at all. Like we're all social beings. We all want to be around, other people. So
I agree with you, but I also disagree with you because I feel like for men,
there are a lot of guys that don't have money that have how many numbers in their phones? Women still go after them. So
it's true, but yeah, they do, and women will even let them hit. They might even date them.
Stay at her house, drive her car, like so. Yeah, they can still date.
I feel like if a man wants to reach his full potential, he should delay that aspect of his life for as long as he can. Obviously, like
not date, but still sleep around, because a man cannot stop sleeping around until he's rich. That's not going to happen.
I agree that we have like a sexual drive, but I think if you are able to channel that energy, because I've what is referred to in patois have been a gyalis before.
Jesus.
You know what I'm saying?
You practiced that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like, can't wait to say that later. Nah, but you hear it, and like I've spent a lot of time and wasted a lot of money chasing tail. You know what I'm saying? And that's obviously in my nature. I enjoy both the pursuit of a woman and being with a woman and the intimacy and the relationship. But if I had focused on pure career development or pure self-development, health, fitness, instead of chasing tail when I wasn't even like fully at my best, I might be further off in life. Right. You know what I'm saying? I think, especially for young men, like we have so much testosterone and post-puberty, like, we really are trying to have sex and, be with a lot of women and stuff. But if you're able to control your impulses and kind of channel that into development for yourself in different forms, you're going to be a better man. So then you're actually able to be a good husband, a good boyfriend, because you have your matters in order. Right. Whereas if you don't figure that out and you're just like chasing tail all the time, that's what you're going to be. You're just going to be a gallus, and you're not going to self-actualize and be the best version of yourself. And this is something I realized like much later in life, because you have to choose what you put your energy in. And if you just put your energy into like getting girls to spread their legs or taking girls out, just talking to girls all day, as opposed to like putting that into your craft or a skill, learning a language, going to the gym, then you're robbing yourself of what you could be.
Right. I agree with that. But a lot of people, some people just have that mentality that they want to live life, and they don't have the patience to, dedicate and making themselves the best person they can be. So
yeah. And I think
you have
that's
to
the
have
problem.
a lot of, what's the word? You have to have a lot of drive to focus on yourself, especially in your 20s when you're in your prime. And like, that's the time when most people party and, socialize and, all that stuff, travel, all that stuff.
But do you feel like men, we have to go through that whole partying phase younger so that when we're older, it's not as appealing? Like, do you feel like it's almost like a necessary part of development to like while out when you're younger?
If you do it when you're younger, then you're going to have to make up for it when you're older. And then if you focus on building yourself when you're older, then you have to enjoy yourself when you're younger. I feel like either way, you're going to want to enjoy life, whether you're younger or older. There's going to come a time where you want to enjoy life. So you either work hard and then play later, or play hard and work later. So
okay. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. What's one ethnicity that you've never dated that you'd be curious to date?
I'm going to say, I don't know, Indian. I don't know, because I never dated Indian before. I don't know. Like,
well, there's a lot of them here. There's a lot of them now. So.
Like, I don't know how to answer that question. So I don't know.
Okay. Indian.
Like, no, Native American. There we go. Native American.
Oh, like a reserve, on the reserve.
Yeah, on reserve. Because they're very family, traditional orientated. So I think that they'd be good, providers and fathers and stuff like that.
We should set you up on like a blind date.
No,
at a
we're
reserve.
not doing that.
Let's do
we're
that.
not doing that.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Okay.
No, we're not.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you don't have a lot of Native friends anyways.
You know what's so interesting?
You don't.
I don't.
Right,
and
exactly.
This is their land. And I've only met, I kid you not.
Say that? Okay.
This is their land, bro.
I know.
They are native to this land.
Yeah, I know.
So realistically, like, if I go to India, I'm going to meet a lot of Indians.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I go to China, I'm going to meet a lot of Chinese people.
Right.
But I come to Canada, which is on native land, I don't meet that many natives. I've only met, I kid you not, maybe like 8 natives in my life. Mm-hmm. Some of them are Métis, like they're half. Mm-hmm. Some of them are full.
Right.
But only like I could count on 2 hands. Mm-hmm. Do you know a lot of natives?
I've only met maybe 2.
That's
like
what I'm saying.
Years ago.
That's so interesting.
Because
that, like,
I think they live in certain areas. They're not going to be in like Toronto. You know? So.
But that's kind of wild that like I feel like we don't even know too much about the natives, and we live on their land. Like they have like a couple chapters in like the books in like grade 3 and like
or in the movie they get a 15-minute little.
Yeah, but like I feel like you're right. Like I don't know too much about native culture or their customs.
Right.
I know there's like different groups. Like it's not even just like one type of native. Like they even have their own subgroups, and like some of them beef each other before. Like
with tribes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Okay, so you would be curious to date a native.
Yeah. Okay. Because I like their culture too. They're very, they're a unit. They're family orientated, traditional. Yeah.
Okay. I could see that for you. You kind of almost like you could pass for native or like mixed native. Like, do you get that?
No, I get Jamaican.
You always get Jamaican?
Yeah. No, I don't. I say I'm Jamaican before they ask.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. You give me more like Blasian vibes.
No, Jamaican.
I'm just telling you what you look like, though.
Okay.
What do I look like?
A nice man. I don't know.
I meant ethnically, yo. I'm not telling you to.
I would say Middle Eastern. I will say Middle Eastern.
I look Middle Eastern.
Yeah, you look Middle Eastern. Am I right?
Yeah, I am Middle Eastern.
Where are you from?
My dad is from Syria. Mm-hmm. My mom's from Turkey.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're actually right on point.
I should have bet some money on that one.
Do you bet? Are you one of those shorties that like
only if I know I'm gonna win? Only if I know I'm gonna win.
You do sports betting like parlays?
Or no, just like for stupid bets with people.
Like with people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not like actual like sport bets, no.
What do you think of male and female friendships, platonic friendships?
I think it's good. It's good to have, if you're a woman, it's good to have male friends, just to get a male's perspective on certain things. So,
do you have like a lot of male friends?
Yeah, more male friends than female friends.
What % of your male friends do you think would bang you if you gave them the chance?
0. You're such an asshole, I swear. What is these questions? That question wasn't even written down. That wasn't even written down.
Guys and girls just be friends, and I remixed it. Sip your ice cap, relax.
It's actually melting. Okay.
It's interesting that you chose ice cap. I feel like
that every girl is gonna. It's either iced coffee or ice cap.
Some girls like the frozen lemonades too.
No,
though.
I don't like that.
Why?
It's too sweet.
Too sweet?
Well, this is sweet too, but I like
That is
I like
even
the coffee.
more sweet.
I like the coffee, you know, the
little
balance. Yeah.
It has a little bitterness.
Right.
And okay. Can you believe one of the questions I wrote was, would the world be a better place if women stayed in the kitchen? But I can't believe I wrote that. So I don't think. Do you?
I can believe that you wrote that.
What are you trying to say? You think I'm like a misogynist or something?
Is that in your culture? Is it seen more like women have to stay in the kitchen in your culture?
Not anymore. Like, I feel like the modern world, everyone has to work. Mm-hmm. I think definitely prior, not just the kitchen, the laundry room, the living room.
The household.
The household.
In general,
you know what I'm
yes.
saying? Yeah, I'm not going to confine her just to the kitchen. Mm-hmm. In my ideal world, if I was able to provide, I would want a housewife. Mm-hmm. I think it's like a point of pride as a man to be able to provide for a woman. Like, I feel like we get like a rush. Like I like to consider myself like a generous person. Mm-hmm. And I think if I had more, I'd be more generous. But
right,
even
with this ice cap, right?
Large. No hesitation. Mm-hmm.
You didn't even ask what size. You were just like,
I went for the large. I'm like, I'm going to get to the biggest one.
Yeah. You're a good one. Yeah. When someone catches you, they're going to be lucky. So.
Right? Mm-hmm. What type of, like, based on intuition, like, what type of girl would you see me with? Like, would you see me with, like a dainty little, like, Filipino chick or like
no, you're like a white
girl?
No, you need someone that has attitude, someone that tells you what to do. Yeah, I just see naturally you being that, like, you being attracted to a woman that knows what she wants and is not afraid to tell you, you know? But she would be gorgeous too. Like, she would be a beautiful.
A baddie. Is that why you asked me if it's a baddie?
Yeah, she would. But I'm just saying that she's not going to be shy. She would be very outspoken, and she'll tell you what she wants, and she'll tell you what she doesn't want. And yeah. And I think that you want that kind of relationship. I don't think you want like a quiet, like, yes, like submissive.
I do want that. But you know what's crazy?
You don't come across that. You don't come across.
That's crazy that you say that, because one, like, I have a very like powerful, independent mother. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? She's a strong, educated woman, like very like hard-headed. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So maybe because of that, I found myself attracted to those type of women that were like assertive, know what they want, like well kept, but like, more independent, but they never work. That never works. And it always
is it due to her or is it due to you? Could
be because of me, could be because of a power struggle, could be because I don't necessarily want to deal with challenges at home, like in the relationship. Like there's already enough challenges there as a man, like going out into the world, going to work, working on your craft. Right. And then like you come home to like a headstrong woman who's like paging you about stuff. At the same time, like it might be good to have a girl who can speak up.
Right.
Because I've seen girls who are like so submissive to the point where like they're almost like helpless without you. Like they're too dependent on you.
Right.
And that's also not attractive. And I feel like even men that end up with those type of girls would cheat with like a baddie. Do you find that too? That's actually interesting.
Yeah, there's men who, and I've seen videos of men saying that they can be with a woman that gives them everything they could possibly want, but they'll still go out and cheat. So it happens.
That is wild. I don't know.
Is that true? Is that fake? Like, I've heard men say that.
It can be. I think it depends on your maturity level. But you have to get past that point. And I think men, we have glorified cheating in a lot of cultures. It's kind of seen as like this like unspoken like honor.
Right.
To be like, yeah, like this, but I went home to my wife, and it's just like honor among thieves. It's like, but I think you have to get past that if you want to have like an actual prosperous relationship. And it's not right. Like if you have a good girl, why are you going to cheat?
Right.
But it's like,
it's a good question.
Right. And I think it's because
maybe they get bored with the same routine and they just want something, you know?
There's a proverb in Arabic that says, it translates to like, the ass of your neighbor is more delicious. So it's almost like
wait, where was what?
This is an Arabic proverb. Like it's just like a phrase.
And in the Bible.
No, just in Syrian culture.
Okay.
Like they say, like the ass of your neighbor is more delicious. So it's kind of like,
why would that be a proverb?
Okay, it's just a statement. Maybe it's not a proverb. Is just like a general. Like,
well, I'm just thinking like biblical. I'm thinking Bible.
It's not in Proverbs.
Okay. I just need to clarify that.
It's a proverb.
Okay.
You know,
right.
or a phrase maybe.
Continue.
The ass of your neighbor is more delicious, which means like we want what we can't have.
The grass is greener on the other side.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it rarely is. And the ass might not be as delicious as you think it would be. For being honest.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to use that.
You like that one?
Yeah, I like that one. I'm going to steal it.
That one's good.
How do you feel about the current state of immigration in Canada?
I think it is being oversaturated to a small geographic region, mostly in the GTA. And I think a lot of the immigration now is for international students trying to become citizens. And it creates issues for many different parties because they're going to these kind of like fake educational institutions offering a course. They're often claiming that they have a certain amount of income and a place to stay, but they don't. So that creates kind of like a mini housing crisis. A lot of them are being exploited from a labor perspective, working under the table and not having full rights. So I'm not anti-immigration. I am a product of immigration. I wasn't even born here. You know what I'm saying? So I think Canada has a lot to offer, and I think immigrants have a lot to offer to Canada as well. But I think the way we are handling immigration, and a lot of it is being concentrated towards like one segment of the world. You're seeing mostly Indians, and I have nothing against Indians, but I think if you're going to have immigration, one, we should seek out people from all over the world. And two, we should seek out people who have specific skills that we need in this country. So like, for example, like business admin is not something we're lacking on, but we're lacking on tradesmen. We're lacking on plumbers. We're lacking on certain trades that we're not producing a lot of workers in. You know what I'm saying? Carpentry, brick masons, whatever. Like, those type of trades are what keep society afloat. And I feel like we're not producing enough of that. So if you're going to import people to like join this country, they should have some type of function or something to offer back to the country. Yeah. What do you think of immigration? I know you're like low-key racist.
Wow. Okay. First and foremost,
No,
like you
joking.
mentioned,
She's
well, you already said it, right? So, but
Are you racist?
I'm not racist. How can I be
so
racist?
I'm joking.
How can you be?
I just love your immigration questions.
Like you mentioned, we're all immigrants in some way, right? Whether it's first generation, second generation, you need immigration for the economy to flourish. You can't get rid of immigration. There's no gate or door you can close to Canada and say nobody's allowed to come in, right? I feel like there needs to be more control over immigration, just so that the people in Canada are not suffering and the people coming from other countries are not suffering. So that's my take on immigration.
More control.
Well, not just more criteria that needs to be met when you come to Canada.
Yeah, I agree. The problem with Canada is we were never, how do I say this? We were never like a super homogenous country where like all of us are from here. Like the origins of Canada are people from Europe taking this land from natives and then settling here. And then you had a lot of people coming from Ireland, England, Scotland, France. Then they kind of like started the country as we know it.
Right.
So they naturally needed a lot of immigrants. And I think because of that, we weren't able to form a strong cultural identity here. It's almost like our cultural identity is based in multiculturalism.
Well,
or
there's no Canadian identity like in the US.
Yeah.
You know, there's like the American dream. There's an American,
ideal.
Exactly. In Canada, you just celebrate whatever culture background you are. So
yeah, but you look at a lot of strong nations like Russia, China, India, even America. I would even say, America too. Their cultural identity is based in ethnic history. Like in America, it is like white pride. Like they were like almost, I wouldn't say like a white supremacist country, but a lot of their cultural ideals came from whiteness. And like, you know, like they were really into.
You said it's not a white supremacist country?
I mean, it is.
Because, you know,
like,
slavery was a thing.
Slavery was a thing, but slavery wasn't just because of white supremacy. Like slavery was because slaves have been around in every empire, every civilization. Asians had slaves, Indians had slaves, Africans had slaves. But the issue with America is they were really into, what's the word I'm looking for? Eugenics. They were into eugenics. So they were into the science of racism. You know what I'm saying? So they almost like legitimized racism into an ideology or like a science.
Well, race is man-made. The idea of race, the concept of race is man-made.
I disagree.
I agree.
Race is something you can see.
Race is a man-made social construct.
The construct of race, any construct is man-made because it requires language, but you can tell when someone is black, you can tell when someone's brown, you can tell when someone's white, you can tell when someone's Asian. I think race honestly presents itself without even you having to say anything.
Then what's ethnicity then? What's the difference between race and ethnicity?
Ethnicity is more
where you're from.
Where you're from.
Right?
Yeah, you're almost like national or like ethnicity is more specific. Like you can be, you're right. I think race as categories is based in white supremacy. That's how they classify different people.
Right.
But it's hard to ignore the fact that there are differences between humans based on skin pigmentation, based on hair, based on facial features. You know what I'm saying? Like naturally we have differences. Obviously we share a commonality between one another because you can have multiracial kids. Someone from China can have a kid with someone from India, even though they're not the same like phenotype genetically. You can reproduce together. So it's not like we're different in that way, like different creatures are different. You know what I'm saying? Like we're still the same creature, but we have different coats. It's the same way like there are German Shepherds and Golden Retrievers, but they can have a kid together, but you can tell one's Golden Retriever and one's a German Shepherd, right? So wouldn't you say race is still like a real thing?
I still think it's a made up thing. Like you said, to push the white supremacy narrative. It was created. Like I can understand the concept of ethnicity, nationality, but race is just something that's man-made.
Yeah, I would even say nationality is a little bit man-made because it requires borders. It requires,
well, that's true, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It requires like this is our nation, but most nations are rooted in either linguistic history, like this is our language, or ethno-linguistic or ethnic history, like we are this people, this is where we trace our ancestry from, you know, like a lot of like Tamils trace their roots to like the Dravidians, like some Lebanese people, they trace their ancestry to like being Phoenician, you know what I'm saying? So there is something to say about ethnicity and ancestral origin. I think ancestral is even a better word because that's literally like your bloodline. You know what I'm saying? Canada was never founded on this kind of shared ethnic identity or shared linguistic identity, even because it was divided. You had the English and then you had the French. And still to this day, it kind of like annoys me that like we have this like split. And one of the questions you presented was it about
that question? Well, it actually came from a news story of a woman, a nurse who was let go because in the news story it indicated that she did not have a firm grasp of English. And the reason why she was let go is because she couldn't speak English. But it's being, what was that shrug for?
Makes sense.
But it's being argued though whether that is reasonable grounds to let somebody go.
Yes. If I work at a Chinese restaurant, they need me to speak Chinese and I don't speak Chinese, like I'm not going to be like, why would you guys fire me? It's like, because I don't speak the language, bro.
So someone...
And we're in Canada, like it is the language. Like we have free courses. There's free resources for immigrants to learn English. You know that, right? They don't even have to pay.
If you can't speak English or French, because French is one of the...
Yo, French. much. Okay, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
So if you are not able to speak, even like an elementary school level English or French, you should not be let into the country. You should know French prior to, or are you saying that you should be let in and then have 6 months to learn English or French?
6 months. 6 months is a short amount of time to learn a language. Takes years to master a language,
Right.
but to learn a significant amount that you're actually able to function, 6 months of full-time immersion, because it's not just classes, like you're going to the store, you're hearing English, like
Right.
I think that's fair. And yeah, I think it's entitled to come to a country and not try to learn the language. Like, who do you think you are? You're getting the benefits of Canada,
Right.
and you don't even want to like learn the language.
Should someone be able to speak, write, and what's the third one that you have to be able to do in order to be fluent in the language?
Speak,
write, and
understand. I don't know.
Yeah.
Comprehension. Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it okay if they can speak broken English, maybe, but not be able to write?
I'm fine with broken English, as long as you are actively trying to improve your English. I think an issue that we face is that if you are ingrained in a certain community, you don't have to speak English because you're only dealing with people from where you're from.
Right.
So I've encountered, and I'm not sure if they don't speak English or they just choose not to, but I've encountered Chinese business owners that have been here for like 20, 30 years. Like they have kids here. They don't speak English. It's like, how do you have a business? How are you able to function? How have you not even wanted to learn English? And let's not I'm not going to underestimate how difficult it is to learn a language,
Right.
let alone English, which is like a unique mixture of like Latin and Germanic. And it's like a strange language. But yeah, like, yo, you want our milk, our honey, you want our like the benefits of Canada, and you don't want to assimilate. You don't want to even like learn the language. That's selfish.
So someone having a very heavy, strong accent, is that the same as someone that can't speak English if you're not able to understand them?
It might be the same effect because whether you're speaking another language or speaking English and I don't understand it, either way, the result is I don't understand it.
Yeah.
However, an accent, that is, at least you're speaking the language, and like that's something you can gradually improve. You might not be able to get rid of it fully ever. Like my mom has been speaking English for probably like 25 years. She has an accent. She'll probably always have an accent.
Right.
And she speaks enough to get by. She speaks enough to communicate, and she made that active effort. She was watching English shows, trying to like go to classes and stuff. And I think that's fair. I think if I move to another country, I ought to learn their language. I think it's super selfish if you choose not to. What do you think?
I think, like me personally, I would want to be comfortable in knowing the language if I'm moving to a different country. I mean, that's just me, though. It's difficult because you have people who are refugees who are leaving their country for, war and stuff like that, and they're not going to have time to learn English prior to coming here. So it depends on
you can learn. I feel like you can come here and
but
not
you need
know
to it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna take time to learn English. Like, how are you gonna make money? How are you gonna survive if you don't know English?
Uber Eats.
I had an Uber Eats driver that didn't speak English. I did.
That's fine. You got
and
your
he
food.
he canceled my order because he couldn't understand the drop off location.
Your drop off location is a little complicated.
No, it isn't. And he called me too, and he said I don't speak English. So I said okay.
Well, that's kind of sad though, because at least he's trying. But I think if you don't speak English and you choose to immigrate to Canada, your first priority shouldn't be making money. It should be to learn English. Because one, you'll get more financial opportunities. And two, like, you owe it to the country that you're immigrating to. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I choose to move to like Indonesia because if I go to Indonesia, I can have a good life. I'm trying to learn Indonesian every day, and I'm going up to people saying, hey, I don't speak that much. Can you teach me? Or like, I'm going to try to make an active effort.
Right.
Because, and look, I think learning a language is a beautiful thing. Like it's good for your brain, and it's also beneficial for you. You're able to communicate. English is like probably the most important language in the world right now. You're gradually seeing a transition to Mandarin or Arabic. Spanish is very like spoken. But English is the lingua franca. Like that is the world language right now, I would say.
And then when you mentioned saturation, do you think that mass immigration in a small period of time is going to lead to more racism? Because there are people that are blaming mass migration to the fact that they can't find jobs or that, they can't get access to social services or stuff like that, or housing.
I'm going to be honest. Like, I have seen an increase in anti-Indian racism, or more specifically anti-Punjabi, because I think they're coming here in large numbers. They have their customs. Of course, when you go to a country, you're going to congregate towards your community. That's like me moving to Indonesia. I don't know why I keep using Indonesian example, and I see a bunch of Scarborough people. Right. Like people who they speak the same accent as me. We know we went to the same areas. I'm going to them first. Right. And guess what? If I don't need the Indonesians, I'm going to just stick with my peoples. Yep. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a natural response to migrating to a place. But I do think the issue is not necessarily that there's a lot of immigration or mass immigration. I think the issue is more that they are working all the jobs. The problem is mass immigration. The fact that they brought the amount of people they brought in was supposed to cover 3-4 years. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. The issue with that is because there's money being brought in. They'll be okay, you can come. You're going to pay tuition, international fees. Sure, come. And let's be honest, it's not like white Canadians are lining up to work at Amazon factories, or they're not lining up to work at Tim Hortons or lining up to work at McDonald's. Immigrants have always occupied jobs that are generally minimum wage earlier. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not saying that's all they can do. I'm just saying that's what they want them to do. You know what I'm saying? They want them to work the shitty jobs, which is
the jobs that are routine, the jobs that don't require a lot of skill. Yeah, skill or talking. Because when you're working a call center, you're talking to customers all day, right? So yeah. Well, I don't know about you. Every call center I interact with, they're Indian. And I be getting a lot I worked in a call center.
Yeah? What was the demographics like?
Oh, it was a mixture.
Mixture? You have but you were here.
Yeah, I was here.
But a lot of the call centers outsource to India now.
Yeah, you will have customers call in and say, "Are you from India?" Before they, that's, and I was like, "No, I'm from Toronto."
This is a side note. This is a side note, but I get so many Indian scam calls. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. CRA?
Everything Rogers, CRA, I don't know.
They used to do the duct cleaning, but then they stopped.
Yeah, they realized it wasn't working, so they switched to
It's
telecommunications. It's yo.
They switched to CRA because then people are going to respond to that one.
It's crazy. Where are these guys getting my information?
That's a good question.
Because they all have my numbers. And what's crazy, they call from 416 numbers. Back in the day, it was they'd have a unique number that you can kind of tell right away is not a Toronto number. But now they be calling from 416 numbers. And I'm yo, is this something important? You know what I'm saying?
You Google search the number. That's what I do. While it's ringing, I Google search the number. And then usually it says scam and I don't answer it.
But yes, I do think mass immigration without concentrated mass immigration of one group of people will lead to more racism because I feel like Canadians, maybe original Canadians, people who are more than 5 generations here, the early settlers or whatever, they don't feel like this is their country anymore. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We even talked about off air. They did the Punjabi they did the Canadian anthem in Punjabi. So they did the Canadian national anthem in Punjabi. I wasn't necessarily a fan of that. Not saying that Punjabis haven't contributed to the landscape of Canada. They have. We have some great Punjabis here who have made great livelihoods, great cultural impacts as well. Right. But there are certain things that I think you got to preserve as a nation. One important preservation is the national anthem. You know what I'm saying? I already don't like that half of it's in French. I'm not going to lie. I do not know the French part. I just don't I just do the sounds because I kind of know how it sounds, but I don't know the words. Do you?
No, no.
You know what I'm saying? I just know the English version.
I like the way it sounds, though. I like French.
I like when the second has dun, dun, da, da, I don't even know what they're saying. But now you're adding another language. It's kind of you know how the Roman Empire fell? You know how it fell? there were multiple things. One of it was financial issues, but another one was the minorities took over the majority. And then the minorities found a way. I'm not saying this is going to happen here, but I'm just saying like the minorities were able to gather up enough numbers to like kind of like rebel. You know what I'm saying? And you always hear this thing. I always see this on TikTok, like import the third world, become the third world. I think if you're too lenient with allowing people in your house, let's say, sure, you might let them change the furniture here and there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they this, that. Maybe at first they start by fixing the light bulbs and you actually like it. Then they start rearranging the furniture. Next thing you know, they're tearing down the walls. Now your room is not your room anymore. It's a bigger room. Oh, next thing you know, they start changing like the colors of the paint, or you know what I'm saying? Like eventually, like you give people an inch, they take a mile. And I think you gradually are seeing that in Canada. When
you promote multiculturalism, that's an acceptance of all different cultures. That's what's going to happen, right? So
yeah, and
Wasn't there like a statue that was put up somewhere?
That one was crazy.
Yeah. There was so many people against that, and just
that one was
I think
crazy.
It was Brampton, I think.
Brampton, and it's a big statue.
Yeah,
it's almost
and a lot of people were upset about it.
You know why I had my qualms about it is because back in the day, historically, when you take over a land, what's a great way to symbolize that?
Oh, put like a massive
erecting a statue.
Yeah, some structure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And this is not just a statue of like a shape. This is a Hindu god.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is like spiritual. This is like is really deeply connected to their ancestry and their roots.
Right.
So it is.
But if it didn't come from government money or whatever, would it still be seen as okay if they chose to invest in it?
If it's privately funded, you have every right to do it. The city definitely still has to approve, and there's probably a bylaw process that to ensure that it's erected in a way that it conforms to like the rules. It has to be this much space. You have to hire this many people. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I do think we're allowing multiculturalism to impact Canada too much. And I'm not against multiculturalism at all. I'm a mixed child to an extent. I have a lot of friends that are products of multiculturalism. I think there's a lot of merit to multiculturalism, learning from one another, interacting with other cultures. But now, like, we're just like, what are we now? You know what I'm saying? Are we just a bunch of separate factions living under the same roof? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we just different cities are going to be seen as different, like small little countries. Yeah, that's how it's going to be. And I don't think that is multiculturalism. I think multiculturalism was like back when, like maybe like in the 90s, let's say.
Like Caravana, people going to Caravana, they see that as multiculturalism, celebrating Caravana.
Is that multicultural?
Some people see it as multiculturalism, going to the carnival.
I guess having a carnival in Canada is multiculturalism.
And appreciating the culture, the music, the food, all that stuff. So,
yeah, I guess. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like having a Greek festival, Caribbean festival. Like, I think those are good celebrations of what makes us special. But I do think that we have to have one thing that we all agree on. That like, this is what it means to be Canadian. And then you add your stuff on top of it. But when it's like you have your stuff and then they have their stuff, they have their stuff, they have their stuff. Like, what are the Canadian values that make us Canadian? And besides multiculturalism or cultural pluralism or whatever you want to call it, like tolerance, I guess.
Yeah.
Secularism, like separation from church and state. Democracy, maybe. High taxes. Like, what makes a Canadian, if that's even a real title.
Right.
What do you think?
I don't think that there is an actual how would I put it? Like you mentioned before, like there's no real definition of what a Canadian is. It's just you're born in Canada, so you're a Canadian. I don't think there's really much more to that, other than English and French, knowing English and French. That's pretty much it. English or French, or you have to know both? Well, true Canadian knows both, I would say. Tabernacle. That's a bad word. Yo, Kitana, I appreciate you coming through. No problem.
This was a good conversation. I feel like we could have a lot more conversations. Maybe we'll do another little pod. Maybe we'll have our own little, you know what I'm saying? He said, she said. Where can the people find you on TikTok, IG?
My TikTok is Kitana Milan, and Instagram is the same. And yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming through.
Anytime.
Thank you for tuning into the Borough Sound. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Follow me at DJsRTV. We'll see you next time.